The year was 2157, and humanity had spread across their solar system. People lived and worked on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Earth was still home to most humans, but the dream of reaching the stars had become more real with each passing year. Navy Lieutenant Samantha Wright stood at the observation deck of Orbital Station Delta, watching the strange ship approach. It glowed with a soft blue light and moved with impossible grace. The first official alien contact was about to happen, and she had been chosen to be part of the welcoming team. Nervous asked Richard Green, who stood beside her. He was the best linguist on Earth, a man who had learned to speak languages that no human mouth was designed to form. A little, Samantha admitted, we've been waiting for this moment for so long. The ship docked with perfect precision. Samantha straightened her uniform and followed Richard to the airlock. 6 other humans waited with them, scientists, diplomats, and military personnel. They had practiced this moment countless times, but nothing could truly prepare them for meeting beings from another world. The airlock hissed open. 3 aliens stepped through. The one in front stood nearly 7 feet tall, with smooth purple skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. It had 4 arms and large, unblinking eyes. The other 2 aliens were different species entirely. One short and stocky with rough green skin, the other tall and thin with feathery tendrils where hair would be on a human. "Welcome to Earth," said Richard in careful, practiced words. "We are honored by your presence." The purple alien stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Zex, Torah of the Valoran species," it said in perfect English. "I represent the Galactic Confederation, a coalition of 27 advanced civilizations." Samantha tried not to show her surprise. They hadn't expected the aliens to speak English. The ambassador noticed her reaction and made a gesture that might have been a smile. "We have studied your broadcasts for many years," Zexora explained. "Your languages are simple to master." Something in the way the alien said simple made Samantha uneasy. The meeting moved to a conference room. Earth's representatives sat on one side of a long table, the aliens on the other. What should have been an exciting exchange of knowledge and friendship quickly became something else. "The Confederation has classified Earth as a protected developmental zone," said Zexto. "This means your species must remain within your solar system until you reach appropriate developmental benchmarks, but we've developed faster than light travel," said Dr. Alan Foster, Earth's leading physicist. "We've cured most diseases. We've unified our planet under a single government. Your technological achievements are noted," said the green alien. "It is your cultural and ethical development that concerns us." Samantha watched the aliens carefully. Despite their words of superiority, she noticed something odd. The aliens seemed tense. The feathery one kept glancing at the humans with what looked like nervousness, not disdain. "How long will this quarantine last?" asked United Earth Ambassador Helen Morris. "That depends on your progress," replied Zexto. "We will establish an observation post at the edge of your system to monitor your development." After the meeting, Samantha walked with Richard back to their quarters. "Did you notice how they kept watching us?" she asked. "They seemed afraid." Richard nodded slowly. "I caught that too, and they were very careful about what information they shared. They talked about their 27 species but gave almost no details about any of them. They're hiding Something Samantha said, I don't think. This is about us being underdeveloped at. All 6 weeks later, the aliens departed. They left behind a small monitoring station beyond Neptune's orbit and strict instructions not to venture beyond it. Humanity had finally met aliens, only to be told to stay in their corner of the galaxy. But Samantha Wright couldn't stop thinking about the fear she had seen in those alien eyes. And she wasn't going to accept being trapped in the solar system without understanding why. Something was wrong with the Confederation story, and she was determined to find out what it was. 6 months had passed since the disappointing first contact. Samantha Wright now worked at a desk in the underground facility of the Earth Intelligence Bureau. Her new job in the Exospaces Division involved studying everything about the aliens who had essentially told humanity to stay in their corner of the galaxy. Samantha stared at her screen, reviewing the same recordings of the alien visit for the 100th time. There had to be something she was missing. Her phone buzzed. It was her boss, Director William Peters. Right, I need you in my office now. 10 minutes later, she stood in front of a plain door labeled Director Exercise Division. She knocked and entered. You wanted to see me, sir? Director Peters was a short man with a serious face. I'm assigning you a new team member, he said. His name is John Mayers, brilliant data analyst, used to work on quantum encryption before he went off the grid 3 years ago. We found him living in a cabin in Montana. Why do I need him? Samantha asked. Because he might be the only person who can make sense of the transmissions we've been picking up. Peters slid a folder across his desk. Inside were photos of a thin man with messy brown hair and intense eyes. The aliens left listening posts at the edge of our system, Peters explained. But they're not just listening, they're talking to each other, and the communications don't match their official channels. Samantha felt a rush of excitement. You think they're hiding something? I know they are. Mayers arrives tomorrow. Get him up to speed. The next day, Samantha met John Mayers in a small lab filled with computers. He didn't shake her hand, just nodded and immediately turned to the nearest screen. Show me what you have, he said quietly. For the next 3 weeks they worked almost non-stop. John rarely spoke except about work, but his mind was incredible. He created new algorithms to decode the alien transmissions, finding patterns where others saw only random noise. Look at this, John said one night, pointing to his screen. It was their first breakthrough. This isn't just routine communication. They're scared of us. Samantha asked, leaning closer. Yes. Look at the frequency of these terms. John pointed to a list of words that appeared often in the decoded messages. Human potential containment and architects. What are architects? Samantha wondered. I don't know yet, John admitted, but they mention them whenever they talk about humans. They took their findings to General Laura Hall, the highest-ranking military officer with clearance for their project. The general was an imposing woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. So the aliens are afraid of us, she said after reviewing their evidence. That doesn't give us much to work with. We need more data. John said we need to see what they're doing beyond our solar system. General Holt considered this. What are you suggesting? A stealth probe? Samantha said, something that could slip past their monitoring station and get us eyes beyond Neptune. 2 months Later their probe was ready. Earth's best engineers had built it using technology reverse engineered from studying the alien monitoring station. It was small, nearly invisible to scanners and very fast. Samantha and John watched from mission control as the probe launched from a secret base on the far side of the moon. It would take 3 days to reach Neptune's orbit and another 2 to pass into unexplored space. Do you think we'll find what we're looking for? Samantha asked. John stared at the tracking screen. I think we'll find something they definitely don't want us to see. 5 days later, the probe sent back its first images. What they saw made everyone in mission control fall silent. Hidden in an asteroid cluster beyond Neptune was a massive alien structure, not just a simple monitoring station, but a full research outpost that had clearly been there for decades, long before official first contact. They've been watching us, Samantha whispered, all this time, and that's not all, John said, pointing to strange energy readings coming from the facility. Whatever they're doing there, it has nothing to do with protecting us. They're protecting themselves from something. Samantha looked at the images. Again, her suspicions confirmed from us. 3 days after discovering the hidden alien outpost, Samantha and John were called to an emergency meeting. The stealth probe had detected a small ship fleeing from the alien facility. The ship was heading straight for Earth. It doesn't match any Confederation design. We've seen, General Holt explained, showing them images on a large screen, and it's sending out a distress signal. In English, John noted, his eyes narrowing. Earth forces scrambled to intercept the mystery vessel. Rather than shooting it down, they guided it to a secure landing facility in the Arizona desert. Samantha and John flew there immediately. By the time they arrived, the ship had been surrounded by armed soldiers. Scientists in hazmat suits approached it carefully. The ship's door opened with a hiss of escaping air. Figure stumbled out and collapsed onto the desert sand. It was clearly an alien, but different from the 3 species they had met before. This one had smooth blue skin and 6 finger-like appendages on each hand. Dark liquid, probably blood, leaked from a wound on its side. Help, it said in halting English. Danger comes. The alien was rushed to a medical facility specially built for potential extraterrestrial contact. Samantha and John waited outside while doctors worked to save its life. 3 hours later, they were allowed inside. The alien sat up on a bed, its wound bandage. It looked at them with large golden eyes. My name is Krillix, it said, its voice stronger now. I am a scientist from the Exorian species. I have come to warn. You warn us about what? Samantha asked. About why the Confederation fears you. Krillix touched a device on its wrist. Hologram appeared above the bed. Complex diagrams of what looked like DNA strands. This is why they quarantined your planet. John leaned forward. What are we looking at? Your genetic structure, said Krillix, specifically the parts that allow your brains to form neural connections. The alien explained that humans possessed a rare genetic trait. Their brains could form new connections faster and more efficiently than any other known species. This gave humans exceptional learning ability and adaptability, but that's just how humans are, Samantha said. Why would that scare the Confederation? Krillix's golden eyes seemed to darken. Because of what it allows you to do with certain technology. The alien revealed that long ago, an advanced civilization called the architects had lived in the galaxy. They had created amazing technology that responded to neural patterns. Then, mysteriously, they had disappeared. They left their technology scattered across thousands of worlds. Krillix continued. Most species can't use it at all, but humans, the alien paused. Your brains can connect with architect systems. Naturally, how do you know this? John asked. Because the Confederation has been experimenting with captured humans for decades, Krill said sadly, taking them from remote areas, testing them, then wiping their memories before returning them. Samantha felt sick. The alien abduction stories, they were real. Krillix nodded. I was part of the research team, but what we were doing was wrong. When I discovered that certain Confederation leaders were planning more aggressive containment measures against Earth, I had to warn you. What kind of containment measures? General Holt asked, having entered the room silently during their conversation. They're afraid you'll discover your abilities and the architect technology. Krillix said, some factions want to ensure humans never leave this solar system. Others want to sterilize your planet entirely. The room fell silent. Finally, Samantha spoke. How long do we have? Not long, Krill said. But I brought something that might help. The alien reached into a pocket and pulled out a small crystal cube that glowed with inner light. This contains coordinates to an architect outpost hidden in your Kuiper belt. The Confederation doesn't know about it yet. If you can reach it before they act. Samantha looked at the glowing cube, then at John and General Holt. Then we have a chance. A week later, Samantha found herself on a secret mission to the far edges of the solar system. Their ship, the Venture, was the fastest vessel humans had ever built. It carried a small team: Samantha, John, physicist Olivia Chen, 2 military guards, and their alien guide Krillix. We're approaching the coordinates, the pilot announced. Outside the viewport there was nothing but the blackness of space and distant stars. There's nothing here. One of the guards said, it's hidden. Krillix explained. The alien handed a small device to John. Press your thumb here. John hesitated, then placed his thumb on the device. It glowed briefly. Seconds later, something massive appeared in front of their ship. What had been empty space now revealed a structure floating in the void, an asteroid with a smooth artificial surface covering half of it. The architects built this outpost 50,000 years ago. Krill said it has remained hidden all this time. They docked at an entrance that opened for them. Automatically, the team put on space suits and entered through an airlock. Inside, soft lights activated as they walked down a long corridor. How did they know we were coming? Olivia asked. They didn't, Krillix replied. Systems are responding to John. John looked startled to me. Why your neural patterns? Krillix said. The architect technology recognizes you. They reached a large circular room. As John stepped inside, the entire place came alive. Displays lit up around the walls showing strain symbols and diagrams. A central platform glowed with blue light. What is all this? Samantha asked. Knowledge, Krillix said simply. The architects were masters of technology far beyond what any current species has achieved, and they designed their systems to respond to certain neural patterns they humans naturally possess. John walked slowly toward the central platform. When He touched it, light flowed up his arm. He gasped but didn't pull away. John. Samantha moved to help him, but Krillix held her back. Wait, the alien said. Watch. The light covered John completely for a few seconds, then faded. John turned to look at them, his eyes wide with wonder. I can see it all, he whispered. The entire network the architects built. Communication relays across the galaxy. Thousands of them all connected. John explained that the architects had seeded genetic potential across many species. Throughout the galaxy, they had been running a grand experiment, watching how different minds evolved. Humans had developed the neural patterns most similar to the architects themselves. That's why the Confederation fears us. Samantha realized we can use this technology and they can't. John nodded. And there's more. The architects left a way to communicate across the entire galaxy simultaneously, a way to broadcast a message that no one could block or censor. Suddenly alarms blared. Throughout the station, Krillix rushed to a display. Confederation ships, the alien said urgently. They must have followed us. On a screen they could see 3 large vessels approaching. We need to get this information back to Earth. Samantha said, can you download it? John shook his head. It's too much data, but he looked thoughtful. I think I can transfer some of the connection ability to others, create a bridge like teaching others to use the architect systems. Olivia asked. Exactly, John said, but we need to hurry. The station shook as the first shots from the Confederation ships hit it. Time was running out. Get ready to leave, Samantha ordered the guards. John, grab whatever you can. Olivia helped Krillix as they rushed back toward their ship. A large section of the corridor ahead exploded. Driss flew everywhere. Krillix pushed Olivia out of the way of a falling beam, but was hit hard. The alien collapsed, blue blood seeping from a new wound. Go, Krillix gasped. Get the knowledge to Earth. It's your only chance. The team lifted the injured alien and kept moving. Behind them, the ancient outpost began to break apart under the Confederation attack. They had found something incredible, but now they had to survive long enough to use it. The Venture barely escaped the Confederation attack. Their ship raced back to Earth with the injured Krillix in the medical bay. Olivia stayed by the alien's side, trying to keep it stable. John sat quietly, his eyes closed, processing everything he had learned from the architect system. Samantha contacted General Holt. We found it, but we were discovered. Confederation ships attacked us. They know we've been to the outpost. Get back here as fast as possible, General Holt ordered. The president is calling an emergency meeting. 2 days later, Samantha and John stood in a secure underground room beneath the White House. Around a large table sat the most powerful people on Earth: President Diane Powell, military leaders, and the heads of the major nations. Tell us everything, President Powell said. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. For an hour, Samantha and John explained what they have discovered. John described the architect technology and how humans alone could properly use it. The Confederation has been lying to us. Samantha concluded. They're not keeping us isolated for our own good. They're afraid of what we might become, and now they know that we know, said President Powell. She stood and looked around the table. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are now in a race against time. The Confederation will not allow us to Develop this advantage. What do you suggest we do? Asked the Chinese. Premier Project Lighthouse said. President Powell, a crash program to understand and implement architect technology before the Confederation can stop us. The room erupted with questions and concerns. Some wanted to try diplomacy, others wanted to prepare for war. President Powell raised her hand. For silence, we will do both, she said. Publicly, we will strengthen our conventional defenses and attempt to negotiate, but in secret. Project Lighthouse will be our true priority. Within days, a hidden facility deep under the Rocky Mountains became the home of Project Lighthouse. The best scientists and engineers from around the world worked there nonstop. Krillix, now recovering from its injuries, provided crucial guidance. At the center of it all was John. He discovered that he could transfer his neural interface abilities to others through technological bridge. The process was difficult and not everyone could handle it. Samantha was one of the first to successfully undergo the procedure. It's like suddenly getting a new sense, she told John afterward. I can feel the systems like they're extensions of my own mind. A small group of humans now had the ability to access architect systems. They worked tirelessly to understand the ancient technology, focusing on the communication network that spanned the galaxy. Meanwhile, more Confederation ships arrived at the edge of the solar system. They formed a blockade, cutting Earth off from any possible expansion into space. Ambassador Zex to return to Earth, requesting an urgent meeting with President Powell. We know you've been to an architect outpost, the alien said. Without preamble, this is a serious violation of our agreement. We never agreed to be prisoners in our own solar system, President Powell replied calmly. Especially not when the reason for our confinement was a lie. Zexter's skin flushed a darker purple. You don't understand the danger. The architect's technology is not meant for young species. It has destroyed civilizations before, or perhaps you fear that humans might succeed where your species failed, said President Powell. The alien ambassador left without further discussion. That night, Earth's long-range sensors detected even more Confederation ships joining the blockade. They're preparing for something, Samantha told John as they watched the sensor feeds. We're running out of time, John nodded. Then we need to be ready. The beacon we recovered from the outpost, I think I can activate it. From here, it would be our first test of the network. Do it, Samantha said. Let's see if we can light up a corner of the galaxy. As John connected with the small architect device, neither of them realized they were about to start a chain of events that would change the fate of every intelligent species in the Milky Way. John placed his hands on the small architect beacon. The device was about the size of a softball with smooth surfaces that glowed softly blue. As he closed his eyes, his mind connected with the ancient technology. Samantha watched as the light from the beacon grew stronger. The other scientists in the Project Lighthouse facility gathered around, holding their breath. I can feel it, John whispered. It's connecting to something far away. On the monitoring screen's energy readings spiked dramatically. The beacon was sending out a signal, but it wasn't using any known form of communication. It was using quantum connections that existed outside normal space. It's working, said Olivia, who was monitoring the data. The signal is reaching beyond our solar system. Jay's face was tight with concentration. I can see another station somewhere in the Andromeda arm of our galaxy. It's activating in response to our signal for 10 minutes. John maintained the connection. When he finally let go of the beacon, he was tired but smiling. We did it, he said. We established contact with an architect relay station thousands of light years away. The network is still functional after all. This time, Samantha immediately reported their success to General Holt, who informed President Powell. The implications were enormous. If they could connect to one relay station, they could potentially reach all of them. The architects had built their network to span the entire galaxy. This confirms the network exists, Samantha told the gathered team. With more interfaces and more power, we could potentially broadcast to thousands of worlds simultaneously, bypassing the Confederation's information control completely, added Krillix, who had been watching from the side of the room. The alien's wounds were healing well, but it still moved carefully. The Confederation controls what its member species know about each other, Krillix explained. Most ordinary citizens on Confederation worlds don't even know humans exist. Yet, 3 days later, their success turned to danger. A Confederation spy drone had detected the unusual energy signature. From their test, Ambassador Zextora arrived at the White House with an ultimatum: your species has been observed activating forbidden technology. The alien told President Powell, you must cease all activities related to architect systems immediately, and if we refuse, ask the President, then the Confederation Council will authorize protective intervention, said Zextora. The alien's tone was formal, but there was real fear in its large eyes. President Powell did not back down. Ambassador, we know the truth now. Your Confederation has been lying to us. You've been experimenting on humans. You've kept us isolated, not for our protection, but because you're afraid of our potential. It is not that simple, Zextora replied. The architect's technology has destroyed worlds before. Some species cannot handle the power it offers, or perhaps you fear that we will succeed where you failed, President Powell said, echoing her words from their previous meeting. The ambassador left without reaching any agreement. Satellite imagery showed the Confederation fleet growing larger at the edge of the solar system. At Project Lighthouse, the team worked around the clock to expand their capabilities. More humans successfully underwent the neural interface procedure. They built a larger power system to strengthen their connection to the architect network. How much time do you think we have? Samantha asked John as they calibrated the improved beacon system. Not long, John replied. The Confederation is moving ships into attack formation. They're done with warnings. Olivia rushed into the room, her face pale. Long-range sensors just picked up energy signatures. The Confederation fleet is powering up weapons. They're coming. General Holt's voice came over the facility speakers. All Project Lighthouse personnel, this is not a drill. The President has authorized full activation of the architect network. I repeat, full activation is now authorized. Samantha and John looked at each other. They had hoped for more time, more testing, but there was no choice now. Let's light up the galaxy, John said, placing his hands on the main interface. Around him, 11 other trained operators did the same. The room hummed with power as the expanded beacon began to glow. Confederation warships entered the solar system, moving in a tight formation. Earth's defense fleet rose to meet them, but everyone knew the truth. Human ships were outmatched in both numbers and technology. In the command center above the White House, President Powell watched the approaching enemy on large screens. Military leaders provided constant updates, none of them good. "Madame President," said Admiral Frank Wilson, "our ships can slow them down. But we can't stop them, we need more time." President Powell's face was grim. "How long until they're in firing range of Earth?" "At their current speed, less than 2 hours." The president nodded and pressed a button on her chair. "This is President Powell to Project Lighthouse. Status report, miles away deep under the Rocky Mountains." Samantha answered the call. "Madame President, we're ready to activate the full network. John believes we can reach every architect relay in the galaxy, and our message prepared and loaded. Once the network activates, we can broadcast to all Confederation worlds simultaneously." There was a pause before the president spoke again. "The Confederation fleet will reach firing range in less than 2 hours. Whatever you're going to do it now. Good luck." Inside the Project Lighthouse facility, the 12 mural interface operators took their positions around the central beacon. The expanded system now filled a large room with power cables running to special generators. "Everyone ready?" John asked, looking at the circle of men and women. They nodded, faces tense but determined. "Remember," Samantha said, "once we connect, the system will try to flow through all of us at once. It might be overwhelming. If anyone needs to drop out, do it. Don't try to push through." Krillic stood near the door, watching anxiously. "The network hasn't been fully active for 50,000 years, the alien warned. There may be unexpected effects." John took a deep breath. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, connect." All 12 operators placed their hands on their interface panels. Immediately blue light flowed up their arms and surrounded them. The central beacon glowed brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at directly. Samantha gasped as information flooded her mind. She could feel the network awakening node by node, relay by relay, spreading outward from Earth like ripples in a pond. Each node that activated made the flow stronger until it felt like trying to control a raging river with her bare hands. "Hold on," John shouted over the increasing hum of equipment. "The network is cascading. More relays are activating than we expected." 2 of the operators cried out in pain and pulled away from their panels. The remaining 10 struggled to maintain the connection as the power flow increased. "It's too much," Olivia shouted from her station. The system was designed for architect minds, not human ones. "We can do this," John insisted. His face was strained, sweat pouring down his forehead. "Focus on directing the flow, not controlling it. We're the conduits, not the source." Samantha understood what he meant. She stopped trying to control the flood of energy and instead imagined herself as a channel for it. The pain eased slightly as she surrendered to the flow. One by one, the other operators followed her example. The violent surges of energy began to stabilize. "It's working," Krill said in amazement. "The entire network is coming online, on screens, Around the room they could see the effect. Architect beacons across the galaxy were activating simultaneously. For the first time in 50,000 years, the network was forming connections between stars so distant that light itself would take centuries to travel between them. In space, the Confederation fleet suddenly slowed its advance. Their sensors must have detected the massive energy surge from Earth. "We have the network," John said, his voice strained but triumphant. "All relays are active and synchronized. We can broadcast our message now." Samantha nodded, unable to speak through the effort of maintaining her connection. With a final surge of will, she activated the prepared broadcast sequence. Their message to the galaxy was about to begin. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, the unexpected happened. Screens of all kinds, from simple communication devices to massive public displays, suddenly activated. Architect relays created quantum connections that no technology could block. Billions of beings from hundreds of species watched as a human face appeared before them. It was President Powell standing in front of a simple blue background. "People of the galaxy," she began, her voice calm and clear. "I am Diane Powell, President of United Earth. Many of you have never heard of humans or Earth before today. Your leaders have kept our existence secret from you, but today we speak directly to you. In the Project Lighthouse facility, the 10 remaining operators struggled to maintain the network connection. Sweat poured down their faces as they channeled the immense energy flow, but the broadcast continued without interruption. On screen after screen across the galaxy, President Powell explained everything. The truth about the architect's legacy, the genetic potential they had seeded across many species, and the Confederation leadership's systematic deception. "For generations," she said, "your leaders have suppressed portions of your own genetic potential. They have hidden technology that belongs to all sentient beings. They have experimented on humans in secret, fearing what we might become." The president's image was replaced by evidence, recordings from the hidden Confederation outpost, data Krillix had smuggled to Earth, and footage of the unprovoked attack on the Architect station in the Kuiper Belt. In the Confederation fleet approaching Earth, panic spread from ship to ship. Commanders received frantic messages from their home worlds. The secret was out. Everything was being revealed. "We do not seek conflict," President Powell continued when her face returned to the screens. "Humanity wishes to join the galactic community as equals, not as prisoners. We invite all species to dialogue and cooperation. Together we can unlock the full potential the architects saw in all of us." The broadcast ended with a simple message written in the languages of every known species: truth, freedom, cooperation. As the transmission concluded, the strain on the neural interface operators became too much. One by one they collapsed, their connections to the network broken. John was the last to fall, managing to safely shut down the system before he lost consciousness. In orbit above Earth, something unexpected happened. 3 Confederation ships broke formation and positioned themselves between Earth and the rest of the fleet. Their captains had made a choice. On worlds across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. People took to the streets, demanding answers from their leaders. The carefully maintained control of the Confederation began to crumble under the weight of truth. Several species immediately announced they were breaking from the Confederation. They established direct communication with Earth, seeking alliance and exchange of knowledge. 5 days later, Samantha stood in a hospital room beside Jay's bed. He had suffered the most from maintaining the network connection, but doctors said he would recover fully. It worked, Samantha told him as he opened his eyes. The Confederation fleet has withdrawn. 7 species have already left the Confederation and reached out to us directly. John smiled weakly, and the network still active, though at a lower power level. The relay stayed online. Even after we disconnected, the door opened and President Powell entered, followed by Krillix and General Halt. Good news, the president said. Valorans have officially apologized for the actions of Ambassador XRA. They want to send a new diplomatic mission. Honest one this time. Krillix stepped forward. My people, the Exorans, have overthrown those who supported the old Confederation policies. We wish to be the first to formally ally with humans. How many species have contacted us now? John asked. 34 and counting, said General Holt with a rare smile. All wanting to work with us on understanding the architect technology. The galaxy has changed forever. Samantha looked out the window at the blue sky above. Somewhere up there, ships from other worlds were now approaching Earth in peace. Stars that had seemed so distant were suddenly within reach. So what happens now, she asked. President Powell's eyes gleamed with determination and hope. Now we take our place in the galaxy. Together with our new allies, we'll discover what the architects truly intended when they seeded the stars with their legacy. And this time, John added quietly, no one will be excluded.